Hello and welcome to part 18 of the tsnì grammar course. Today we have part 3 of the conjunction series, and we'll talk about all the other conjunctions that didn't fit into the other 2 videos. This list is very likely not complete. I might be missing some. If you know some I missed, then please write them in the comments or contact me somehow. Then I will add a pinned comment with all the conjunctions that I forgot for this video. And also, what I already said in conjunctions part 2, this video is not really meant that you watch it completely and learn everything by heart, because there is not that much grammar information in here. It's literally just a list of words, a list of conjunctions and examples on how to use them, and maybe some grammar information on how to use some of them. So I will put timestamps in the description box with where you can find which conjunction. So this is more meant that you maybe skip through the list and see, oh, this conjunction I need to learn about, or I wonder how to use this one. And then you jump to the part of the video and can learn about that one. But in any case, or even if you want to watch it all, then have fun, I guess. But it might be a bit boring because it's very much more a vocab video than a grammar video, this one. So let's start right into it. Let's start with some basic conjunctions, and basic conjunctions here just means that it's often used conjunctions, and I didn't know a better title for the slide. So the most important ones probably, or the ones that you use most often, are ulte and tsnì, and both mean and. Ulte connects 2 full clauses. So for example, tsmug ulte taweyka, my sibling cooks and my mother sleeps. Or ftxey ulte taweyka, today I study and tomorrow I rest. So a good test that I personally find is if the 2 things that ulte connects also work on their own, so then you probably need ulte, because I can say tsmug the sibling cooks, and taweyka, the mother sleeps. By the way, you note that I didn't use a weya or way in here for my, but usually it's implied that you speak about my sibling and my mother. But also for the second one, ftxey, today I study, tomorrow I rest. So these elements also work on their own. But if we look at the examples for tsnì, that's not the case, because tsnì builds enumerations, so basically lists of things. Ma smukan se smuke, brothers and sisters. If I just pick one of these elements, if I just say smuke, that doesn't really make sense on its own. Or polulor se kanu, she is beautiful and smart. Again, if I just say kanu, that's a word, but even with context, I guess it doesn't make that much sense. So we need tsnì here because we have a list of things. Next, we have fu and tsle, or and but. I just have 2 example sentences here because they're pretty much straightforward, not much to do wrong here, I guess. Neowel yayoti, fu palulukan tsiepit, I want a bird or a cat. Sle nantang tsiep sunu mungwrrtxo, but dogs I like the most. And another example for fu. Ge zasyup leona nekutu amefa fu a vrpa. The leona will not perish to the enemy within or the enemy without. So basically not the enemy that is in the inside or at the outside. Next we have hufwa, although. Feutraleri tangeke sirfkan woud hufwa kerei. The trunk of the tree feels solid, although it's dead. So again, pretty straightforward how you would use although in English. When you have dup instead of rather than, lam ngai wer fokaye ile hilvan dup naring. I bet they'll take the river instead of the forest. Then we have ki, but instead, which usually is used together with ke, so not. Ngapte ke nefyentu, you speak not like an adult. Ki ne eveng, but instead a child. Let's next look at crop, and also this one was interesting for me because, fun fact, I didn't know that this one also is a conjunction. I thought it was only an adverb. But it also can be used as a conjunction. Beyoang tsun mit dambai gop mireim rivei. What animal can live both in the sea and also on the land? Like I said, it's also an adverb, and I think most people use it that way most of the time. Kop sunuwero utumauti. Additionally, I also like banana fruit. Very random example here. And I also want to quickly show you ken au and slekop, not only but also, which is a very nice combination to say that not only one thing but also another thing. They're adverbs, but I thought I'd list them here too because we just talked about sle and about kop, so it makes sense to take a quick look at them too. So for example, Agnari se pei oit snikken auf bom tok sle vom ron yivo. I hope that not only your physical health, but also your mental health will be perfect. And slekop can also be used on its own. Fra grolungeye se pau njesik, slekop letzranten. Your questions are always difficult, but also important. Let's look at some ways of giving reasonings in Natvi. You will see that there are a lot of different conjunctions that you can use for that, and we will look at all of them in comparison to see what the meaning differences are. Ke sunuwero utumauti. I don't like banana, or banana is not pleasing to me. Ha ke yomtsat. So in that case, I don't eat it. Now we can also replace the ha with tafral. Ke sunuwero utumauti. Tafral ke yomtsat. I don't like banana, therefore I don't eat it. We also have kuma with the result that ke sunuwero utumauti. Again, I don't like banana. Kuma with the result that ke yomtsat. So with kuma we can show that one thing is the result of another thing. So I don't like bananas, so that causes the result that I don't eat it. We can also use alu as a conjunction. Ke sunuwero utumauti alu ke yomtsat. I don't like banana. In other words, I don't eat it. You might remember alu used a bit differently, for example for stuff like tsmuk alu sevanin, the sibling that's called sevanin, so you use it to specify nouns, to say a name of something, or for example also uvan alu Minecraft, the game, aka Minecraft, so the game Minecraft. But we actually can also use alu like a conjunction, like I showed you here, between two sentences, and then it means exactly that. I don't like banana. In other words, I don't eat it. And lastly, probably the most obvious one, ke sunuwero utumauti alunta ke yomtsat. I don't like banana, because of which I don't eat it. Let's take a closer look at this one, the tafral. This lesson is called conjunctions free, but I was a bit mean here. Tafral is not a conjunction. It's an adverb. So what we can do, we can also put it in another place in the sentence. So I can also say ke sunuwero utumauti ke yomtsat tafral, because it's an adverb. And let's also take a look at these two again. Maybe you already saw it, but kuma actually comes from kum, result, a, which is. And very often in Natvi, if we have something like that, we can also turn it around and then change kuma into akum. So the result which is, but then the result is on the other side. So we can switch around the sentence. And for alunta, we have the same. So let's look what happens if we use the other conjunction here. So kuma changes into akum. And then we have ke yom utumautiti akum ke mungwrrtxo. So in this case, we have the result before the akum, because kum means result, a which is, and then the a connects the result, I don't eat the banana, I don't eat it, with the kum, the result. And the same also goes for the taluna, where we can switch alunta to talun or taluna. They mean the same, they're both conjunctions meaning because. So ke yom utumautiti, I don't eat bananas, talun or taluna, ke mungwrrtxo, because I don't like them. And lastly, we also have taweyka, which also means because, and can be used interchangeably with talun or taluna. So that's a last possibility to write that sentence. Let's take very quickly a closer look at because. Taluna or talun or alunta comes from ta, from, lun, the reason, so literally from the reason which is. And we also have wake, the cause, so taweyka, from the cause which is. Ayoes no light fitr talun or taluna when rumi tulung soup. We lost today because I dropped the ball. Well rumi tulung soup alunta ayoes no light fitr. Here we have the order switched around because the a now is in front of the lun and not after it. And it means exactly the same. We lost today because I dropped the ball. And of course we can do the same but with taweyka. So we can say ayoes no light fitr taweyka when rumi tulung soup. We lost today because I dropped the ball. Again, for taweyka we don't have the other way around. So we don't have something like awekta. We only have taweyka. So this one we cannot switch around. And one thing I want to mention is that talun additionally also is an adposition. So for example I can say tsauke soluvaum talun fwop. The sun became dark due to the dust in the air or because of the dust. And because it's an adposition, I could of course also say fwop talun. Resulting actions you probably remember from 2 slides ago. Kum means result, so we get kuma or akum, dead, as a result, so with the result dead. Vtolia ponit an kuma tifmetokit emsolau. She studied a lot, so that, or with the result dead, she passed the test. Tifmetokit emsolau akum vtolia ponit an. Here we have the same sentence, just switched around with akum instead of kuma. Because the a is now before the kum, we need the result on the left side and the other part on the right side. Lupoe sevin nift an or fit an kuma yaune soluwe. Here we see kuma in combination with nift an or fit an. They can be used interchangeably here. And what that does is it means she was so beautiful that I fell in love with her. So the nift an or fit an is the so in the sentence. And what is very important, usually we have very flexible word order in Natvi, but if we use this construction, so nift an or fit an kumas, so that something happened, then the nift an or fit an needs to be next to the kuma. So it needs to be before the kuma. I can also say yaune sulu wer akum nift an sevin poelu. So I can also switch the entire sentence around again. And then again, the nift an or fit an needs to be next to the akum. And lastly, a sentence I really like, fteke nift an kuma terkup. It itches like crazy. What this literally means is itch so much with the result that I die. And this is a general pattern you can use. So it's an idiom that something happens so much that you will die. So nift an kuma terkup. If something really happens a lot, or like in this case, like crazy, is a good way to translate it. Let's next look at ftxe and fteke, in order to or in order to not. This one causes eve infix, and you will notice the next few slides we will talk about many other conjunctions that cause eve. Hetu vangil aungeye swotutska a fteke keroseya tsket. The aliens destroyed our place to dig up a dead rock. So in order to dig up that rock. Teranefnu ant euvai fteke ayerike aungatis divaum. Walk as quiet as possible, so or in order that the hexapedes won't hear us. And here we see something interesting. We use fteke and don't use ke in front of the divaum. So in English, we just negate the verb so that he won't hear us. But in Natvi, we use fteke and then the sentence following, so the clause following, is automatically negated already. And we don't need to say ke stivaum, we just say stivaum. And note, of course, in both that we have the eve infix in the following verb because of fte or fteke. Tsnì, that is a bit more complicated, I think. At least it seems like that for beginners. I see a lot of people asking about that one. It's used only with certain verbs. This list of verbs, and you see already many different colors. And this is because tsnì, with some words, requires the eve infix in the following clause, with some it doesn't. And some actually can also be used with futa, that. If you have no idea what futa is, then you can watch part, I think it was 16 of this grammar course, where we talk in depth about F words like futa. So here again what it means. Purple means that example sentence we have with these verbs have a eve infix, or there is good reason to assume that eve will be used in the clause after tsnì. So it would be silpay, to hope, et'elsi, to request, esansi, to force, rangal, to wish. This one we actually don't have any example sentences with rangal tsnì, wish that. But because nerangal requires a eve infix in the clause, I'm very, very sure that we would also use the eve infix with rangal tsnì, but we don't have any official examples of that. Mungwrrtxo, to advise, and fteke, feel dread, and also tsnì, to invite, all need the eve infix after the tsnì. Then we have lamke, to protest, lamfe, to complain, laum, to pretend, and tengfya, to judge. For these we have example sentences that do not have eve in the clause after tsnì. And then we have lastly srefbil and srefey, to assume and to expect. And those two are very interesting because they can be used in two different ways. You can use them as transitive verbs with alunta, and then you would use futa for that. Or you can use them intransitively with tsnì. In that case, there's no eve after tsnì, at least in the example sentence we have so far. If you are pretty new, then probably this sounds very abstract to you and you're wondering what the hell am I talking about. So let's just look at some example sentences. First of all, one example sentence with silpay or tsnì. So I hope that. Zoslivu nga newin. And here we see there's the eve infix in the zoslu. But by the way, one random other piece of information, you can actually also write like this. Silpay or zoslu nga newin. I hope you get better quickly. So with silpay, actually we can also use it at the beginning of the sentence without any tsnì then. And then actually the following clause does not seem to get the eve, because the example we have, there is no eve infix in that one. Another example with one verb that requires eve in the clause after tsnì. Po el soli wera. She invited me, tsnì, siva'u kelkune, to come to her home, or literally that I come to her home. So here the za'u becomes siva'u because of the el soli tsnì invited me to, or invited me that I. Then we have an example with a verb that does not require eve infix after tsnì. Lumpe nga laum tsneke tsun sriveo. Why are you pretending that you can dance? So here, of course, the sreo becomes sriveo, but that's because of the tsun sriveo. So because of the modal verb, we use the eve infix in the following verb, but the tsun itself does not get the eve infix because laum tsne does not get the eve infix in the following verb. And lastly, one example with srefey. Set srefey oi tsne tsambongu tet au maut on ong. I'm currently expecting that the war party comes back after nightfall. And like I said, this one can also be used transitively. So we can also write like this. Set srefey well futa tsampongu tet au maut on ong. So here you see two differences. First of all, we use futa instead of tsne. And now because we have a T ending, feut-a, so futa, we also get the L ending, of course, because we now use the verb transitively. And that makes that owe becomes well. Next, let's look at sweylu-to or sweylu-hufwa. Should. Swey means best, lu is to be, so sweylu becomes literally to be best, should. We have two different ways we can use it. First of all with to, if. Sweylu-to nga kiwe or nga sweylu-to kiwe. So the nga can be both either before the sweylu or in the clause after the sweylu-to. And then it of course could also be sweylu-to kiwe nga. So in this, it can be, the nga basically can be anywhere, honestly. You should go. It would be best if you go, literally. And then we have sweylu-hufwa, that. Sweylu-hufwa nga kole. You should have gone. Here it's a bit tricky, because in English, usually if I tell you you should have gone, what I mean with this is you didn't go, but you should have. Like, why didn't you go? You should have gone. In Natvi, sweylu-hufwa only means that something already happened and it was good that it happened. So it's good that you went. You should have gone. You went and you should have gone. For example, an example sense that Kayapon mentions is when someone tells you, hey, he should not have done that. And then you say, okay, sweylu po tsakemsuli. So it was good that he did it. He should have done that. That was not exactly the sentence he named, but about that was the example context. We currently do not have a way to say you should have gone, as in you didn't go, but you should have. So we are still waiting on confirmation on how to phrase that one. And here are some other conjunctions that cause even fix. First of all, mungwrrtxo, except plus o if becomes mungwrrtxo, except if unless. And very likely we see it comes from o if, so it makes sense that it also causes the next verb to get the even fix. One example would be tsaktap re'esi kaukrr mungwrrtxo kesivu txokefyaw alahe. Never use violence unless there is no other way, or except if there is no other way. And we have ketsran, no matter whatever, which also can be used as an adjective. We will look at both. Ketsran tsenga, wherever you go, so it does no matter to which place you go. Ke o tsenga deng, I'll go there too. And here we see that it's not tsenga ke, but tsenga give. Even fixed because of the ketsran. But like I said, ketsran can also be used as an adjective meaning whatever of something. So ketsran tute would be whoever, literally whatever person. Ketsran u would be whatever, literally whatever thing. And you see that we use the a here, so ketsran changes into ketsrana. Of course, because we use it as an adjective, we also need to connect it to a noun. I could also say tute a ketsran or u a ketsran. Ul and then, the more the less, are in my opinion really useful conjunctions, and we should use them more. So you can use them to build sentences like this. The more something happens, the more something else happens, and the same with the less. So I just show you some examples. Ul tute, ul tengesek. The more people, the more problems. Nen yong am tr, ul efo or hak gaim. The less you eat at noon, the hungrier or the more hungry you'll feel in the evening. Nen ftya, nen lusk am za'u. The less you study, the less chance you have of passing. Next we have ftxey, whether or. Frapo, ftxey tsnì ftxey tsfetu. Everyone, whether beginner or master, Tievun ftenge rivun uot lesar, can find something useful here. Mungwrrtxo ngani fteke. Tell me whether you want to live or not. And here we see ftxey used in combination with fteke. So fteke means or not. And basically here we have an indirect question. Tell me if you want to live or not. And something interesting, if you have watched the first conjunction video, then you remember maybe that we talked about tengfya or tengta. And you might think, we need tengta here because it's an indirect question. Mungwrrtxo, tell me the answer if you want to live or not. But with fteke, we don't really seem to need it. I couldn't find any official information about this topic, but example sentences of this kind we have don't have a tengta. Are you coming or not? So we can actually use this construction with fteke to make yes or no questions. Are you coming or not? And if you already learned a bit of questions, then you know that you could also write it like this instead. Are you coming? Yes or no? And some other random conjunctions. First we have tengfya, which comes from teng, same, and fyao, way or path, and yeah, means then as, the same way as. Tengfya twa, as you can see, lupre el turtet ensi net an. The style is very interesting. Tsenga, where or the place where, it literally just comes from tseng, a place, and a, which, so the place which. Tsenga aus den yepem fimekemyo, where or the place which these two walls come together, lumektseng, there's a gap. And lastly, txokefyaw probably comes from txokefyaw, if not this way, and it means if not or else otherwise. Narisi txokefyaw teranenu, be careful or else you trip, literally or else you will walk failingly. And that was it. That was the overview over some more conjunctions. I hope this was helpful for you. And like always, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments or contact me on Discord. Hi, Yalovai!